Xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đến với Part 2 Lesson 5, công thức trả lời cho dạng câu hỏi Experiences. Với dạng này, chúng mình nghĩ đến về ideas, thì sẽ có những ý như sau, sẽ nói về core recommendation, addition aspects, structure, đúng không ạ? Về phần core recommendation, begin by mastering vocabulary for people, places, and objects, and these elements naturally apply to experiences. Với dạng who, chúng ta hãy rút cái thông tin từ về describe people, for example, friends acquaintance. Where ta sử dụng các từ vựng liên quan đến location vocabulary như bustling city or sharing beach. What you need, incorporate object related terms, for example, equipment or tools. Rồi, phần addition aspect ta sẽ có when, or during my childhood when I was an adolescent, in my 20s. Why to chill out, necessary in order to, unavoidable. What happened before the experience, during the experience, after the experience. Your feelings, nervous, bored to death, and terrified. Structure before context, time, place, a preparation of objects, people involved. Example, back in high school, my classmates and I, during key events, used action verbs struggle or discover. Scenery, details, sounds. Example, as we enter the competition venue, crowd cheers echoed. After outcome results, lasting impact, and feeling skill gain. Example, though exhausted, I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Describe challenge that you faced at high school. You should say what the problem was, how it happened, how you felt about this problem, and explain how you felt when you solved the problem. I'm going to talk about the challenge I faced to pass the exams I had to take for university entrance. In my country, every student had to take exam in order to get into a university. I'd like to begin by highlighting the fact that with my grades were always high, I had always been terrible at mathematics and always struggled to get passing grades. Unfortunately for me, it was one of the most critical subjects that I needed to pass in order to get into a tertiary institution. Going on to how I overcame this problem, I knew that in order to pass this subject, I would have to work flat out, and I even hired a tutor to assist me. Although I'm not an early bird, I got up at 6 a.m. every morning to start studying. Moving on to this question of my feelings regarding this challenge. I was really stressed out and felt down in the times every day. I really felt depressed, to be honest. I never would have made it through this difficult time without the words of encouragement from my soulmate. And if there is still time, I'd also like to mention that after I passed this test, I really felt over the moon. So I invited all my friends over for a party to celebrate my success. Về công thức ta sẽ nói câu thứ nhất là I'm going to talk about. Rồi I'd like to begin by highlighting the fact that going on to how I overcame this problem, I knew that. Moving on to the question of, and if there is still time, I'd also like to mention that. Ứng dụng. Describe class you remember taking at high school. You should say what the class was, what the class was about, who taught the class, explain what you remember most. I'm going to talk about my 11th grade literature class, which left a lasting impression on me. I'd like to begin by highlighting the fact that this wasn't just an ordinary class, it was an advanced course focusing on Vietnamese poetry from the 1930s. What made it special was how our teacher brought their classic words to life. Going on to what the class covered, we analyzed masterpieces by poets like Xuân Diệu and Han Ngọc Tử. The curriculum explores romanticism in Vietnamese literature, with particular emphasis on how the poets used nature imagery to convey emotion. Moving on to the question of our instructor, Miss Lan, a petite but fiery woman in her 50s, taught the class. Her unique approach involves dramatic recitations where she does sometimes literally weep while reading particularly moving verses. And if there is still time, I'd also like to mention that what I remember most was our final project, where to compose original poetry in the style we just study and perform it for the class. My hands shook terribly during my presentation, but the applause of the word gave me confidence I carry to this day. Look at how this was not important. Challenge you overcame, you should say, but the challenge was what you faced, who helped you explain your solution. Đến đây, các bạn hãy giúp công thức này và giúp cho các bạn kịp thời hơn trong phần part 2.